Okay, we are live. We're going to do a Canada news recap. Again, it's going to be probably a pretty short stream, but it should be fun. Let's take a look at this one here, except for my face is in the way, so I'll just scroll down a little bit or get my face out of the way, actually. But it's talking about the Epstein files for a little bit. Mark Carney's name appears 69 times in newly released Epstein files, and then there's a summary from Grok. I'm not even going to read it. I'll just read some of the top posts here. Mario Zelaya, one of Canada's top influencers who does a great job in general. I mean, sometimes I don't disagree with all of his takes, but he's definitely good at what he does, I would say. Just pointing out the obvious hypocrisy. If Poilievre was photographed on the floor hanging out, smiling, then years later his name showed up 69 times in the Epstein files, the CBC and every major news outlet would be all over it. I mean, I think he's of course correct. It's just crazy how numb everyone in Canada has gotten to how unfair our media is. Lisa McLeod says Mario is right. Obviously, hopefully the mentions are nothing but the lack of scrutiny points to a glaringly obvious hypocrisy between the media treatment of a Liberal politician and what we would expect if it was a Tory politician. I mean, it's just obvious, right? Shocking silence coming. Like, at least just ask some questions. But there is one. So there is something here from CBC that I came across. Bratney, who, if you follow this X account, Bratney, she definitely did a major 180, I would say. She used to be almost all conservative. Every time I see her post now on X, it's sort of a liberal take. But she says, for those saying Carney is mentioned in the Epstein files, understand that it was not communications between Carney and Epstein. It was articles about Carney when he was Bank Governor of England. It was a daily newsletter Epstein was subscribed to. So we'll watch this video here from CBC.
Here's what comes up if you search Mark Carney's name in the U.S. Justice Department's library of Epstein files. His name appears in dozens of documents, mostly between 2013 and 2020 during his time as governor of the Bank of England. Let's check the facts. None of the documents show any communication between Mark Carney and Jeffrey Epstein. Instead, you'll find emails where his name appears in a daily newsletter with event updates like July 1st, Mark Carney takes over as Bank of England governor, and links to news stories like the challenges Mark Carney faces as Bank of England governor. Banks must keep to rules on liquidity, says Mark Carney. 2 emails reference Carney being investigated for a scandal involving investment firm London Capital and Finance. A London judge ruled in 2024 that the firm was a Ponzi scheme and found 5 men liable, but Carney was not named in the judgment. There's also an email that mentions a business luncheon hosted by Carney in his capacity as Bank of England governor. There's no indication Epstein attended that event. And there's one email from October 2025 that mentions Carney's name as part of this Associated Press story headline. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will double its non-US exports as Canadians can't rely on US. In the past, fake images like these have circulated that portray Carney on Epstein's private island. They're not real. There are real photos that show Carney with Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell. These photos were taken at the 2013 Wilderness Festival in Oxfordshire, England. Maxwell was convicted in 2021 for sex trafficking underage girls and is currently in prison. Sources close to Carney told the Toronto Sun that he was never friends with Maxwell, saying his wife's sister went to high school with Maxwell and they have bumped into each other in public settings. You can search the Epstein files for yourself at justice.gov/Epstein.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I'm going to go now to the next story because, I'm going to move on to this story here. And it is that calls grow for Joe Rogan to host Poilievre on podcast. I don't think this will happen, though. We'll get Rogan reacting to Poilievre not going on the podcast the initial time in a second here. But Mario Zelaya, again, yes, this old tweet, I guess, from Pleb. Should Rogan invite Poilievre on his podcast? Elon Musk replied, yes. I mean, Poilievre should have done this back in the day. I don't understand why he would do it now. Mario Zelaya, again, liberals are funny. They pretend to be elbows up, but have no problem going on US TV networks. Zero backlash ever. He's totally right. In saying that, Poilievre should go on the Joe Rogan show. Sure, but what's the point now? I don't think Rogan has any reason to have him on. What's he going to say? Hey, you should have come on here a year ago. And not a single Canadian has the right to criticize him. Dude, but I know, but this, They already won. I feel like this argument is this is an argument that should have been had a year ago, and it should have been quickly. And the answer should have been yes, obviously go on Joe Rogan. This might be, I'm pretty sure this would have been ignited because Christia Freeland was on Bill Maher. We'll get to that right after this. But again, we'll take a look at this video from Mario. I'm not going to probably play the entire video, but let's take a look.
Give me 1 second because this is really, really good. So last night, Christia Freeland was on Bill Maher, and that's not the first time she's been on there. She was there last year. And in fact, so was Melanie Joly. On CNN. Justin Trudeau was on MSNBC. And we can never forget the fact that Mark Carney actually announced his intention, at least teased of his intention, to run for the leadership race, which he eventually won, to become Prime Minister of Canada. He did.
Look, this is all obviously true. It's just, again, this should have been such a layup for Poilievre to go on Rogan, but he needed to obviously do that before the election.
In the US on the Jon Stewart show. And there's a reason I'm telling you this. I would love to see Pierre Poilievre on the Joe Rogan show, and there should be zero backlash from anyone, especially
the problem, in my opinion, is who cares if there's backlash? I've made this point over and over, so I'm not going to kind of get into it that much, but I think the liberals, they fall into the framework. There obviously will be backlash. People like Andrew Coyne will lose their minds if the conservatives even do anything, but it doesn't matter. The Americans are so much better, no offense, than Canadians at this, at not caring about the liberal media having a temper tantrum. Here's Joe Rogan back talking about Poilievre refusing to go on the podcast.
Offered to have that Pierre guy come on the podcast.
Really?
He didn't do it. Wouldn't do it. Thought it was too problematic. Or whatever. Jordan told me, I forget what he said, but they were telling him not to do it. Like his advisors were telling him not to do it.
What?
Like, hey, dumbass. Offered to have that Pierre guy.
So we'll go back to Mario here.
The liberals. And the liberals, I would ask you all to please look in the mirror at how much your members of parliament have appeared on US television. See, here's the fact. The fact is we know so much about American politics, but Americans don't know much about Canadian politics. And now more than ever.
Yeah, so then I'm going to go to this clip here from, it's a little clip of Bill Maher with Christia Freeland. The clip kind of cuts off. This show's on HBO. I mean, I don't know even where you can see the entire exchange. You probably can't unless you pay for HBO, but this clip was going around on X. Bill Maher here. Imagine if Bill Maher said this in Canada. This would sound like he would be considered by the mainstream media here the most right-wing person in the country. And Bill Maher is basically a left-wing person.
And I mean, I would just like to know where.
Talking about, by the way, the Billie Eilish at the Grammys saying there's no illegals on stolen land.
This is especially important for you because Canada's been facing this issue with Indigenous peoples. And it can go beyond just the virtue signaling of saying something, because they're sort of taking it seriously now in Canada with repossessing land for Indigenous people.
So right there, CBC would, if you said that on CBC, they would cut you off and go, whoa, 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 whoa.
What is the practical next step if you say that there's no such thing as illegal people on stolen land? Okay, now, of course, immediately the people, the tribe here in California asked for her house.
That actually happened. I saw that on Fox. But look, Christia Freeland, you couldn't even talk like this on Canadian media. They'd probably cut your mic.
Which I thought was pretty great.
And Christia Freeland sitting there laughing. It's not how she would act in Canada.
What is the next step? This is my problem always with things like this from the left that are so performative. Okay, even if we agreed with that stolen land, yes, lots of land is stolen, by the way, not just here, but okay, so it is. What do we do about that? We give it all back and go back to living in teepees? What is the practical next step?
Exactly. And look, again, it's because HBO, you can't see what Freeland responded with, but she's just sitting there like that Bill Maher, he's a left-wing person, would be Canada's most right-wing. I mean, they would run him out of the media in 2 seconds in Canada if he spoke like that. Just challenging anything in Canada is seen as way too extreme. Here is a clip from Andrew Coyne talking about Jamil Jivani's Washington trip.
It's certainly a lot more useful and helpful than Jamil Jivani going down to, quote unquote, negotiate on behalf of who knows who, with who knows what mandate. But he must have, I presume he went down with the leader's authorization. And I think what was going on there was to focus on the Canada-US trade deal as being, first of all, the be-all and the end-all, rather than something that we have to be able to take or leave. And secondly, to blame the government for the absence of one so far. If only Jamil Jivani and people like him were...
Yeah, it's just crazy. The Conservative Party does anything, and they're going to get so much scrutiny, even though the Liberal Party has been in power now for 11 years. And I saw someone else post this on X. This panel here of these 4 people is hilarious. I don't understand the point of this panel show. They just all agree with one another. What's the point?
Negotiating it, we'd already have it, is the implicit message. So there's a supposedly bipartisan helpful move that is neither helpful nor particularly bipartisan. It's certainly a lot.
So, okay, buddy. The Conservatives can't do anything. Here's another one. The federal government is lifting its freeze on low-wage foreign workers in 8 cities where employment has dipped below 6%. But I've seen a lot of people talking about this on X, how a lot of people just gave up in Canada on trying to find a job. The government will resume processing temp foreign worker applications in 7 cities because the unemployment rate has fallen below 6. 95,000 Canadian whatever, gave up on looking for work, bro. And the teen unemployment rate is 20%. And then this Great Canadian... Anyway, I'll play this first, then I'll read off the Great Canadian Bagels reply to this because I agree with their reply. But we'll take a look at part of this video at least.
Hi everyone, great news from Canada. Canada has resumed processing low-wage LMI applications in 8 more regions. Yes, 8 more regions because their unemployment rates dropped below 6%. This is really huge. So here are the newly eligible cities, as you can see on the screen: Halifax, Moncton, Montreal, and so on. So now talking about what counts as low wage exactly. So if you're offered wages below 120% of your region's median wage, or below what the company pays similar Canadian workers. But yes, agriculture, construction, and frontline healthcare jobs, they're always exempt from this freeze. Also note that 24 regions still remain blocked, like Toronto at 7.5%, Calgary at 6.3%. So to check your specific eligibility, so what you can do is you can go to the census website, enter your job's postal code, and see if...
So anyway, Great Canadian Bagel says, womp, womp, womp. Carney's not actually serious about immigration, but this gives CPC a chance to retake the lead here if they have the stomach to win an election. I mean, that's my current theory. I'm not convinced the Conservative Party actually wants to win. Poilievre, Scheer, I can't prove that, but I don't think their actions line up with a party that really wants to win. I think they value being comfortable and being liked above the messy kind of stuff that you have to do in politics a lot of times to actually win elections. But anyway, we'll see if I'm proven wrong or right on that one. But here's another one. This guy talking about an unknown rule in Canada, apparently. And I'll just play the video.
You see this driveway? If I go here running, by chance I fall here as it's slippery, okay? And I fall and get injured. Then do you know who will have to pay for this? The owner of this house will have to pay because it's their responsibility to clean this driveway. If they didn't clean it, then I can file a negligence claim. I am them. $200 to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
I mean, what a scumbag. Just telling people how to scam homeowners.
Dollars can be received depending on how much I got injured. Although I'm not going to do that, but it is their responsibility. So if your friend is going to catch a bus and by chance slips on the driveway, then send them this video. You can directly claim. You see,
dude, you're such a bad person, man. What an idiot. Just telling people how to scam. What a guy. Anyway, I think that's the end for this video for today. But thank you for watching. Like the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.